Hey there viewers, my name's Torinski and welcome back to another DCSS Sunday, where we're continuing our journey to do our best to get a win with each and every species in the game here. Last week we finally got through the first little, I don't know, speed bump, or real speed bump at least, of our journey in Draconian. But I did notice after the fact that it, funnily enough, took us 5 tries to get through with the 5th species in the game, so I'm going to do my best not to make that a pattern, otherwise things might become uncomfortably tedious and long. But still excited in general to be moving on today to Halflings, and we'll have to make sure we take out the name Dream here. Thankfully the Dream Run got us through the last one, but we'll have to turn to a new hero today, one of slightly smaller stature than last week. We'll see how it goes. But hello Brain and Jester, how are you both doing today? Hope your days have been pretty great so far. I did see Brain, you were playing some Ziggurat earlier, or Ziggurat, a Ziggurat run. Was it still the same Knoll that I've caught on for part of your run the other day? Because if so, that's awesome that they're still going. But as for our run today, like we mentioned, we'll be hopping in with Halflings here. They definitely have a couple of unique traits compared to the other species. Because of their small stature, there are quite a few weapons that they're just not able to use whatsoever. Things like triple swords, great swords, most of the two-handed weapons in general. On top of that, certain weapons that are normally one-handed for most species are two-handed for Halflings, those being like magical stabs, tridents, probably a couple other things I'm forgetting. Maybe the double sword becomes their two-handed sword, something like that. But as a bonus to this smaller stature, they gain nice bonuses to evasion and stealth. So we'll see if we can get those two factors working in our favor. And the really nice part about Halflings that's very unique to them versus any other species in the game is that they have mutation resistance innately. So that's super helpful, especially in the later part of the game where we're running into a lot of those monsters, Orbs of Fire being the most iconic of the batch, I guess. But that's definitely a nice thing to have in the future. So, as for what we want to start out as in our background, we looked at the aptitudes at the end of last session, and most of the magic stuff isn't looking too likely to get off the ground without a whole lot of experience thrown into it here. And so I was leaning towards a hunter. They are, Halflings that is, are very good with using slings and getting that skill up there quickly, so I feel like it might be a good opportunity to kind of show those off a little bit, because I'm not usually that apt to use slings on most other species who are able to use some of the bigger, better one-handed weapons, or even throwing more likely, because I guess one thing I didn't mention was that on our little buddy here, we're not able to use javelins, so throwing kind of goes out the window, because javelins are one of the biggest advantages in that department. We'll see how it goes. Just saying, I've never seen this game before, but it's reminded me of D&D. Definitely on a basic mechanics level for sure. I'll be able to explain a little bit once we get into it here, but to start off, we are able to pick from a wide array of species, all with varying traits and aptitudes to make them better at certain things. One departure from D&D right off the bat here is that there's no real class system in this game. We very much on that final or last screen there picked a background, so it just leads to some of our starting skills and equipment, but otherwise every character is just left to deal with whatever the dungeon throws at them. So our Halfling Hunter, just so we can hop in here and maybe start showing off some things a little more clearly. Come up with a name. My usual naming convention gets a little strange here because I like to steal the first 2 letters. Hahu? Hahu isn't a horrible name. In fact, it's like totally fine and great name. Halhu. You know what? I've convinced myself after saying it out loud that Hahu is going to be our hunter today. I'm going to go in and show that even one as small as this can make a true difference in this world. But here we are into the dungeon, and so we can take a peek through some of our starting screens, including our skills here, and set things up. We want to make sure they're on manual as per usual. And then we'll be training slings here. And then as per usual, as we gain things in our equipment, we'll be able to go into a few other categories. Shields is something I'll be on the lookout for, but again, because of our halfling start here, we do have to put a bit more training into that in order to use even the tinier bucklers. And otherwise, let's pretty much just hop into this. I'll be on the lookout. Ooh, never mind, I lied. We start with a short blade. So I'm actually gonna train some short blades up as well. A bit of a rough start here. It's been a while since I played a hunter, and I'm not totally sure what we're gonna do off the bat, but I definitely want to get a short range weapon trained up because we don't start with a whole lot of ammunition for our slings, so we'll have to try our best to fight things up close. But for anyone who hasn't played the game before, like Jester in chat here, we go through the dungeon and everything is turn-based based off of our own movements. So nothing happens at all on any of these screens until we make our move, and then the time progresses by one turn usually on a move, and everything will happen simultaneously around us, with the chat log telling us what happens, as well as just a whole lot of experience in the game, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Filling our knowledge in the background, because once you've played a couple times, you definitely get pretty used to reading a lot of the UI. But in general, it's a pretty complex game. I'll probably do a horrible job even attempting to explain it piece by piece here, but as per usual, if anyone watching in chat has any specific questions, definitely let me know, and I'm happy to try and illuminate as best I can here. But even, Jester, you mentioning D&D has gone my mind a little bit off on a tangent right on the start here, because I'm thinking that I might be trying pretty soon to do my first real attempt at DMing a game of D&D. For most of my life, my older brother has been my DM, and right now he is currently the DM for a campaign that I play with my partner, my little sister, and my little sister's partner as well. And yeah, we have a whole lot of fun, but we're thinking at some point, if my brother wants a little bit of a break and the rest of us all really want to see how our DM performs on the player side of things, because that's always a bit of a change, especially for someone as experienced in D&D like him. I'm excited to see what kind of stuff he's going to throw at the wall. But I'm super excited to try it out, and I've had a bunch of ideas on the go, and just the other day, I suddenly, in the middle of nowhere, I think I was just like sitting here watching a YouTube video or something silly, and I started jotting down notes on my little post-it pad here, because I came up with a cool idea, which I don't even know if I should spoil, because who knows who's watching this. My brother or my partner might be lurking in the background, and I can't spoil too much, but let's just say I am a huge fan of genre bending, and I want to throw a lot of kind of silly, fun stuff their way. The campaign we're playing right now is very horror themed, so to take a bit of a break from that, maybe have some fun, I'm gonna hopefully do some quirky things with the whole dealio. That's alright. You've only played D&D maybe a couple times and never got to finish a campaign. I agree with you there. I don't think I've finished a campaign myself, even though I've played a few. Definitely some of the shorter ones. One-shots usually get done, so that's a good place to start a lot of the time. Is just something that will have a nice, short, but a real arc at the very least. Ups and downs, and a bit of a conclusion at the end too. And Will loves some D&D as well. Nice to hear. I'm glad that there's still so many people playing it. I mean, it makes sense, especially since even during things like the pandemic, well, it sucks not being able to play in person with friends, because that does make for quite the party session in general. Good food, good drinks, good times with friends and all that. But the sweet thing about D&D is how amazing the online resources are, because just recently in the past couple years is when I've used D&D Beyond and Roll20 for the first time, and it's pretty incredible what you're able to do now on those platforms, and how much easier it makes it to introduce the game to people as well, because it formats things in a really straightforward way. And I mean, I come from a pretty classic background of it, or at least I started D&D a long time ago when I was a kid, so I think I started by tearing into the some of the manuals and books that my brother owned. But nowadays that's a bit harder, and instead of having to click through a bunch of web pages, sometimes it's nice to have dialogue drop down boxes to make your choices and just see how it affects things. I know my partner really likes that for creating characters, because she loves to try out every single feature and like see how it affects things and have a lot of fun with flavor and stuff like that. So the online format definitely helps out a lot and just makes things a little more streamlined and smoother, which is nice. Roll20 and D&D Beyond are great to have because of the pandemic ruining in-person gaming for many of us. Yeah, definitely agreed. No, the pandemic was and is horrible and rough in so many ways, but one of the silver linings that I've always taken from it was that I finally have gone so much more time online with my family members specifically. Got a lot of my family members that have never really just been into online gaming, not against it or anything, but just never really played too much. And finally get them online, and then my family members that have always played a lot of video games have had more time to be online, which is definitely kind of nice, but in no way an even trade-off with the pandemic hitting the entire world. But I'll take whatever advantages and little bits of happiness I can take. New stuff for you to check out. Nice. Family game times. Yeah, no, as often as I possibly can. Both video games and more traditional like board games and like when I can as well. That's actually another thing that I've only recently stumbled upon and really expanded upon was how many sweet board games have been made into fully online like browser versions, and that's super easy for people to just pull up on their phone. And so we usually like pull up a Zoom call and then you can play. I mean, I haven't played Gartic Phone yet with my family, but we used to play essentially the same game on our own back in the day that we called Pictionary Telephone. So that's the next one on the list, to get them all hooked on and play together. But okay, we got lethally poisoned there by the snake because I made some unfortunate choices in how we chose to engage upon that last fight. Both an orc and an adder showing up in the same place this early, kind of rough. But fortunately, with chugging some random unidentified liquids and bottles in our pack here, we did stumble across a potion of curing finally at the end. So, phew, don't have to give up on Hafu yet. Lucky curing, yay! Exactly. Especially considering the fact that the curing wasn't even one of the multiple potion stacks we had. Could have gone through 3 more potions there, just trying our best to stumble upon that. But I'll take any and all luck that the game proffers up to me here, gladly and willingly. Should also, which I don't know why I'm running away to do this, we can just pop in. I forgot to set up my auto pickups this time. So we'll make sure we're picking up no magic staves this time around. Normally I pick those up even just to identify them, but they're two-handed, they're clunky for us. It's just not worth it today. So let's make sure we're picking up all this good old throwing stuff. We're hopefully getting a decent amount of ammo for a sling, because we can use stones. They're a little bit weaker than sling bullets, but they do work in a sling at the very least. So hopefully use that. Ick, giant cockroaches. Very much agree. Especially if their like strength of exoskeleton and the scale of pressures they can withstand at all scaled with their increase in size. Which, I mean, you'd think it would, because normally bugs don't get that size for oxygen reasons, I believe. It's something like that. But in this mythological universe, they can get that big. So if their strength scaled with that, imagine how hard it would actually be to kill a giant cockroach. Maybe less so with a nice dagger like this, but if you were using a crushing weapon, absolutely impossible. Also, I should have been paying way more attention to this giant scorpion here. Or this one's not even giant, I don't think, just regular sized and true size here. The tile sets can be a little bit misleading in that regard. But we're about to become lethally poisoned again. And that's not great. This might be a quick and brutal end for Hahu here, which kind of works out because I did just notice that I forgot to put up the seed for the run. Oh no, luck time? Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be pulling anything out of thin air this time around. Could try some random scrolls, hope for something like fear, and then if we have a heal wounds, maybe I'm not too poisoned. Let's do it. Super wacky combo. I'm gonna read my single scroll of Ishroi Muna. It's a scroll of enchant weapon. Not exactly what I was hoping for there. Let's try this again. It's very unlikely now because these scrolls are most likely identify, remove curse, and teleport or something like that. But let's give it a shot in our final breaths of life here. Scroll of identify was our 2-stack. I should have used that on a potion. Oh, so I'm a little bit in panic mode obviously as we're dying here, but that would have been a good opportunity to maybe get a free identify turn on one of these, see if they will in fact save our life, or maybe even kill us. We'll have to see. Teleport scroll. Now we're maybe going to teleport out of here if we survive. We also drank... Oh, that was a degeneration potion. Fantastic. Love to see it. And unless this is a healing potion, we're dead. And indeed, there it is. A quick death to an early scorpion here because I definitely was being a little quick on my triggers there, tried to fight it with a knife when I definitely should have started slinging stones at this buddy from the beginning. But that's fine. A nice little reset, an early death here to get the nerves out of the system, shake it all out just a little bit here. Rip Hahu indeed. I will. Unfortunate, but such is life, and especially when you're trying to get through the dungeon. What is one halfling to do against such overwhelming hate here? But that's fine. This time around, we can definitely pull through just a little bit here. The chat box, you died, ... So sad. Indeed, indeed. Every time is a small dagger in the heart as we mourn the loss of one who might have been a hero. But maybe in this other life, and in fact, we're going through with my usual conventions here. This time around, the offspring of Hahu, Hahu II, will embark once more. We may eventually have to start, again, reaching out, getting some help from chat with names that will pull us through to the end. But for now, I'm willing to give Hahu one more opportunity to show us a thing or two about what it means to be a halfling hunter here. And in order to start us off, before I forget this time around, let's immediately start with a dump of our file so that I can put up the, the seed for all you lovely people. Just in case anybody wishes to either play along at home or after the fact, especially if we're lucky here, maybe, just maybe, we'll come across a godly roll in the RNG this time around, and everyone can give it a shot on their own. One can hope and dream at the very least. So let's remember to throw that up this time. Perfect. And without further ado, hop into the dungeon. Make sure that we're training up our slings and short blades again. Probably going for a pretty diffuse build here. Maybe I should focus down a little more. Something like slings take off defenses, with the caveat that this time around I should remember to turn my defenses back on at a certain point in the game instead of just crossing my fingers and hope for good rolls the whole while. But here we go. Hey Failthink, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. And last but not least, we will make sure we're picking up all these useful potential treasures that we can find on the ground here. And then it's off back into the dungeon with our auto explorer. And, oops. Doing our best not to use too many of our sling bullets, but this time around, let's also remember that they exist, shall we? And do our best to take out some of the scarier threats before they become an issue, rather than already hitting full panic mode levels here. Perfect. Actually, just about to lie down, so have an awesome stream, and you'll be lurking. Sounds good. Thank you so much, and hope you have a great nap. And see you around in the future. See daisies. Let's switch to our sling here now that this fight has already gone just a little bit rough. Jeez Louise, already near death on Hahu II, but that's to be expected with any of these frailer races, or species I should say. We do usually find ourselves at risk to the first goblin or hobgoblin that is actually carrying a weapon, because it's scary stuff. They hit pretty hard, these nasty little buddies. But alright, we have gotten a free energy out of this whole shebang as well. Which definitely could come in handy for when we finally have enough health again to feel comfortable fighting, as our little buddy Hahu II here is just fully sprinting around in circles through the dungeon that we've already explored, trying to recover just a little bit from the initial beating we took from this club here. But we should be just about at the point now. Perfect. And it only took one shot, which might seem like we were wasting time there, but alas and alack, when you're rolling the die here, you never know if it's going to be just the one, or if we're going to take another 3 direct hits to the face with a club instead. We will continue on with a little bit of a near-death experience under the belt, a little bit of character built and strengthened along the way here. And look at that, I even remembered to switch over this time to my sling for taking out the kobold with a knife here, because that is another one of those very early risks in the start of the dungeon. There we go. Maybe, just maybe, this will be the one here, going a bit smoother off the start at the very least, actually paying attention, which usually helps. It's nice to have a run or two at the very start, the first 20 minutes or so, to acclimate myself and remember some of my mechanics for how I like to play the game and all that good stuff. Alright, early pair of boots, always love it when we can start getting our fashion on a little bit earlier in the dungeon here. Bright red shoes is definitely a bold statement on Hahu here. We're not fooling around in the dungeon. Okie dokie, I'm adding everything into dexterity, because we're probably going to be running a pretty evasion-focused build here, with the bonuses we get for being a halfling. Even though it's always a little scary to run evasion in this game, we'll still have pretty good odds of avoiding just the majority of the damage that comes flying our way, which is always a nice thing, and ideal if you can pull it off, because no damage, I don't know, it's kind of controversial, but I've always said that no damage is better than taking any damage. Hot takes today, very, very hot takes. Better safe than sorry for sure, and Hahu II has clown training, calling it now. Walk a mile in these Louis Vuittons. Oh heck yeah, clown training is better. Love it. Definitely pretty early on in our clown training here. Jeez, mouth is really tripping over that one for whatever reason. It's not even a very conventional tongue twister or anything. But we're just in the normal sized colorful shoes for now. Maybe one day we can upgrade to the larger shoe size. Depends on what kind of clown we want to be though. If we want to be the happy or the sad. I used to know their French terms, I believe. The 2 main classifications of clowns. I don't remember them off the top now. Let's have to mention, oh shit, it's Frodo, but let's be real, Sam's the best hobbit, fight me. Don't think you're gonna get a lot of hate on that opinion. Sounds like another hot take like I was making earlier. But definitely agree, and in fact, that's where I was debating reaching into. If we have too much trouble getting our halflings off the ground here, we might need to gain some inspiration, try and come up with them. I know I once had a pretty fun chat with my older brother, trying to decide on what all of the D&D classes the members of the Fellowship would be. So we could try and roleplay a little bit, see how far each and every one of the hobbits makes it through the dungeon here. Just for saying I gotta study the clown stuff now. Yeah, no, I definitely have only heard of it occasionally through a couple of like celebrities that are kind of known for enjoying the art of being a clown. I'm trying to remember the interview I heard now. It would have been... Oh, it's one of the famous actors from Modern Family. I don't know many of the character names well in that show. I only watched a bit of it with my partner a while back where we switched off. But anyway, horrible dialogue from my end here. But regardless, an actor of some renown. I saw an interview where they were talking about, the different schools of clowning and how... people very much fall into one of the two main camps. Of course, could be misremembering all of this as well. I'm always afraid of that side of things. The human memory is a fickle thing for sure. Very liable to make mistakes all over the place. Will also mention that we gotta find a stylish hat for the clown shoes. Sorry I missed that earlier, Will, but you're very right. In fact, I need to be a bit more cognizant to be on the lookout for hats, because I've so much gotten used to playing as a draconian here, where none of the helmets will fit. I mean, ideally, maybe one of the cloth hats will do best for Hahu II here, just because that's usually where we get the most flamboyant color stylings, which is probably what we're looking for. Oh, but would you look at that? Right as we're talking about it, a helmet does appear, so we can cross our fingers and hope that we can get the fashionista side of us ignited right off the back here. Also, still incorrect after trying to correct myself multiple times. I believe I was going for right off the bat. Way to go, my brain. You're doing great out here. And Cephid also went for the classes on the Fellowship here. So we have Mary as Paladin, Sam is a fighter, Pippin is an awful bard, Frodo's a 3E NPC noble. I love the Frodo description there. But honestly, fairly similar to most of our classifications. I can't remember if we went for more of a rogue slant for Pippin initially there, because I also don't remember when in the history of D&D and when in me reading the books we discussed this stuff. But I mean, they all have rogue levels, at least some kind of innate traits from their halfling heritage, right? But the important ones are definitely that you need Sam as a fighter, because Sam is the backbone of the whole crew. Perfect. We did also pick up a nice looking pair of gloves. Some may argue that bright, or not necessarily bright, but striking purple and striking red don't always go together. We're definitely standing out in the dungeon here, but I'd say those people are wrong, and we're killing it. Especially with this wicked hat we're wielding here. Not quite the colorful, fantastical look I was originally thinking of going for here. Okie dokie. So Ajib here has a wand, and hit us once, hit pretty hard. And then as we were running away here, we got hit one more time. Curious for how much damage, we'll see in just a moment here, but unfortunately, Holy jeez. Rip to Hahu the Second here. Rough start to our halflings here. They're definitely finding early ends. Makes sense. They're definitely a little bit lower in health. Not quite as bad as something like Felid or Phalids that we'll see later. So definitely sweating a little bit. Shouldn't be this hard. But regardless, these things happen, and a unique with an early wand is definitely one of the scariest things we can find in the dungeon here. And yeah, Will was saying, put you down to -7, don't know what to use with Blammo, and here we go. It was a disintegration wand that dealt 25 damage on that second hit. So the first one, I think, already did like just over half my health. So I knew that I was looking in scary territory. But comparing that to my total HP of 29, that's a little rough, for sure. Con school is not the proper training for exploring the rigors of the dungeon, or Hahu the Second didn't quite have what it takes to cut it in clan school, because you need to be ready to roll with the punches, you know, be quick on your feet, have a line at any time, be good to go and make everyone's day better. Or worse, depending on the type of clown you are, I guess. Again, not gonna yuck anyone's yum here. But here we go. Hahu the Second down for the count. Wand of Disintegration so early. Wow. Yeah, those early unique wands can definitely be a bit of a killer, but that's okay. I also could have handled it a little bit better, specifically noticing that wand right off the bat, because that is something we should be on the lookout for in the early dungeon. Make sure nobody's about to whip out some magical arcane shenanigans and completely blow us away in some ridiculous fashion. But alas, maybe it was meant to be. We're getting runs quickly, or out of the way quickly here, especially if we are gonna fall into some weird prophecy of it taking us 6 runs to win with the 6th race here, then at least the short ones are out of the way quick, right? Now my question is, do we want to head in again with Hahu the Third? Keep giving this lineage opportunities. We went as far as the 3rd for Draco, so it may be fitting, maybe right for sure. Or do we want to mix it up? We can start reaching in, maybe run in. Could go with Sam, but I would feel horrible if I die with Sam on D2. I need to save that name for the run that wins, which, now that I think about it, should be this one, right? The power of optimistic thinking. And Safid mentions that they're a fan of Halfling, the slinger. I do love that as well, Jester. So I think that just about does it. Instead of having to painfully go through names here, we can instead take the brilliant suggestion from Safid in chat here, and we'll head in with Hal. First of their name. Do our very best to keep Hal alive. Anytime somebody from chat names her character, I feel the pressure is on, because I need to do good by you. Make sure that we give Halfling here their due day in court. But as per always, we are at the whims of the great dungeon of Zot here. And so, I have to see how she goes. I did also, just the end here, recall that we are doing this fancy seed stuff. Make sure that anyone who wishes to play along from home, play along after the fact even, can do so with ease here. So we'll pop back over into OBS, change up this big ol' string of numbers. Lovely. That should be fantastic. Here we go. Off into the dungeon. First bat down for the count. It's a good day for Hal. Okay. Bit scarier here. Our first weaponed buddy is always a bit rough. Fortunately, the kobolds did have a few rocks in their pockets, so they decided to spend a few turns throwing rocks our way, which was honestly much more preferred on our end as well. Fortunately, they do a little bit less damage with those thrown stones than they do with a a swinging sword and all that. So perfect, getting a little bit of luck right off the bat. Maybe, just maybe. I'm also very much getting used to the fact that in this version of the game, they made it so that you're able to use the tab quick attack key for ranged weapons. I don't believe that was a thing prior to 0.26. But definitely something that I should be taking full advantage of because it makes things a bit less tedious. Normally you're always going to be binding that to a certain macro anyway. Oh yeah, let's not try and swing our cloth sling at this buddy right as I'm proclaiming the lack of errors in our way. Immediately, mistakenly try to attack with that, but that is all good as long as we aren't completely punished with death for our mistakes. There's an opportunity for us to move forward, learn from them, take that knowledge into our future here. Tab fighting making it extremely easy for me to fit in drink breaks. One of the big advantages in general to playing turn-based games is I was complaining so much last stream about my lack of self-hydration, but turn-based things, you have all the time in the world, especially when you mix the turn-based thing with an auto-fight key, then don't even have to pay attention half the time. Or is that why I'm getting myself killed? Because of mentalities like that? No, no, no. I'm not out of touch. It's the children who are wrong. So Hal is going to live up to his namesake, or is he going to be a filthy stabber instead? Hey, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I don't see why we can't explore ourselves a little bit here. Especially considering the fact that we just picked up this nice dagger with an electric brand on it. The electric brand deals the same amount of damage no matter what weapon you put it on, so when it's on something fast like a dagger, it's really good. And yeah, Jester mentioned the Hydrate Redemption button again. I did actually take a look at it, and I meant to potentially add it on. I will definitely do so before my Wednesday streams, because those are where I'm very apt to completely forget my drink exists. I think I've played this game long enough, and I like to usually have a drink with me, even when I'm not streaming and just playing stuff. So in my years of playing this game, I've completely settled on a bit more of a rhythm of when I can fit in the quick sips or something like that. You went to click one but didn't see it yet. No, I definitely think we'll be adding that between you and Babs suggesting that last session. I think I was convinced that it's a requirement for my own health, especially since, yeah, my partner Babs will do her best to try and keep me alive, despite my body's attempts to completely neglect itself. But okie dokie, we unfortunately fell through a hole there, falling a couple shafts down in the dungeon, which is always a scary experience, especially on a little feller like ourselves, but fortunately, we found our first stairs here, and an undead thing next to us is not able to follow up, which is at least good here. So we're closer now to making our way back to the dungeon floor where we actually belong, but it is always a bit of a tense few moments where we don't want to get seen by too many things, especially things like gnolls that come in packs at this level of the dungeon. Skeleton, no damage, very little at the very least, and yeah, most, or a lot of monsters in the game will follow you upstairs and downstairs for that matter, but fortunately, undead creatures do not. So the snake had one chance to hit us there, and they were able to hit us, but due to even our low amount of armored class, we were able to reduce that damage to 0. Okie dokie, here we go with another elite, this time with a Wand of Flame, so not quite as scary as the Wand of Disintegration, but Robin comes with her own set of challenges here, because she is definitely gonna throw buddies behind us constantly and consistently here, making sure that we don't have an escape route, and that unfortunately will be taking damage from multiple directions. So we're going to be switching to our sling here. See, if this was more of an explored dungeon, we could run away. But we look around, we only have this downstairs explored after our pitfall. And I mean, we could run away and head down these stairs in order to head up these stairs. Oh my, that room. Indeed. Yeah, anytime you find Robin with a full pack of buddies, you're in for a bit of a rough tumble here. But fortunately, because there were so many friends in the way, Robin also was not able to get into our line of sight here, because otherwise, once again, Robin would throw somebody behind us and block our escape. But we're, again, doing our best here to give Hal the chance to live out a long, full life. We're gonna do the smart, question mark, play, and head down the stairs to the danger that we know. Perfect. And this is only really worth it because we found this upward stairway right next to it. I'm very tempted. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the shop. Anytime I see a shop, I get greed in my eyes here and I get completely distracted. There's a reason why I almost always worship Gozag, the god of gold in the game here. But also, holy crap, we have 2 shops. So let's take a look. The shop has a nice artifact leather armor that we cannot afford yet for sure, but holy crap. Now we have some things, some tangible in-run reasons to survive for, because Shield of the Gong is kind of wacky. We probably won't run it on this character. It would take a bit more training to get up, and we'd lose our evasion bonus. Plus 18 shield, yeesh. Indeed, it is attractive, but what you gotta know when you're looking at the Shield of the Gong there is that the trade-off you're paying is bringing the entire dungeon floor down on your head the moment you block something with it. Because every time you block something with the Shield of the Gong, it gives a little, like, patao patang message. And you, jeez Louise. And you attract a lot of monsters, is what I was going to say. So we, unfortunately, out of the frying pan into the fire, contrary to what we'd usually expect to find in the wide dungeon here, the danger wasn't on floors 3 and 4 that we got shafted to. The real danger was on D2 in this very rare full null pack, all with reaching weapons with the spheres. Yeah, man, Hal, where's your halfling luck? Right? They're supposed to have a trait, the lucky trait. But eek, poor halflings, bad luck, indeed. So far, at the very least. But maybe they'll turn around. So we're already... The pooch is fully screwed. Don't get me wrong. I think my last-ditch effort to save Hal's life here is going to be to head up to our closest unexplored area. I'm hoping we don't run into too many monsters in this kind of middle zone here. Could happen. Yes, saying, can we run? I'm sure gonna do my best. Don't really want to take a turn opening a door, and I believe we connect up here. So I'm gonna go. Hoping that we don't run into anyone. Oh, hi, Jessica. So lovely to see you here. Person who can slow us and half our health. Or no, I guess pain is just a lot of damage. Oh me, oh my. So this one might get a little funky. Because we have a couple of options. I think we could step up to Jessica, try not to wake her, and get a quick backstab off. Would be pretty sick. We'd get hit potentially once from each of these, which could kill us, though. Alternatively, if I try and take a couple steps to the left, we could try and not wake her. If she does get woken, I'm hoping it's after we put some bodies between us. But hey, here goes. Please put a body between us. Thank you kindly. I don't know, is slow smite targeted? Will you tell me if slow is smite targeted? Not sure off the top of my head here, but we're still alive. How do I not die though? Because unfortunately these buddies were slow. They got caught up on something. Probably Jessica walking across. Because we need to do a cut here. But each time we spend a turn, even a space away from these gnolls, they can poke at us from afar. So we have to make sure to keep appropriate levels of social distancing at all times with these buddies. And now we find ourselves in a fantastic but scary situation. Because we have a couple of options here. We could try and just keep running around the floor 6 feet or 2 spaces, sound the retreat from Brain. Yeah, but what kind of retreat? Because what I was going to mention is that we could keep running around the floor, just trying to regain health, maybe take out a couple of these buddies. I don't think that's going to go well for us, though. So option B, which I'm leaning towards, but still kind of juggling in my head here. Option B is going to be to head straight down the stairs and just say screw it to this floor. We might get boned by what we find down the stairs, don't get me wrong. But we are kind of in an ideal situation here where we're only adjacent to a rat. So we're not taking anything too scary down with us. And hopefully there's nothing too scary down there waiting for us. Hey, would you look at that? Our first little bit of luck. Hey, Rose, how's it going? Hope you're having a fantastic day so far here. Definitely nice to see you. Could use any and all the luck and support we can at this point. All of our characters so far today have been absolutely dealing with the worst of it here. But we're ready for all that to change. We have Hal here, Hal the Flinger, and we're ready to make a change. Oh geez Louise. As I mentioned this, we're just being beset on all sides by these buddies here. So finishing, you had to go AFK. Hal lived just barely. Oh me, oh my. Don't you worry, it got worse before it got better. But here we are, stuck between a rock and a hard place once more, so maybe don't get our hopes up too much yet to see how it goes. But we have to take a couple steps away. These stairs are not safe to retreat up, unfortunately, is what we've discovered, or what we know here. So, the adder has moved to start going around the wizard. They're faster than the wizards, so it does make sense there. I'm going to put myself into a dead end because I think we don't have much of a choice. One way or the other here, this is how this ends. But the dead end will at least allow us to fight just one enemy at a time, as well as the snakes are really evasive and they can dodge easily. So it's nice to have an enemy behind them so that if we miss the snake, we hit the enemy. In this case, our enemy is invisible, so that makes it weird. But the further advantage that we gained from this is we at least know where the invisible buddy is, because there's only one place for them to be. So I'll take that little bit of luck, and there we go. Hal managing to survive, a little bit of poison coursing through the system here at the very end of the fight, but nothing lethal, and there we have it. We've managed to escape the gnoll pack, the herd of monsters trying to destroy us on the upper floor, and now here we are back on the D3, doing our best to survive what more the game has to throw at us. Unfortunately, due to the panicked nature of this entire run so far and the amount of strong encounters we've had, we are almost out of our fancy sling bullets. Almost down to just using standard old stones, pretty much just pebbles in our sling here. Which in fact I should do in general. That is switch over what type of ammo we're using to stones, just to make sure that we don't use the last of our sling bullets here, and that we have that as an option. Unfortunately, we run into Ajib here, one of our predecessor's killers. I think our last run here. Maybe our first. Oh god, they're all blending into each other. But met its unfortunate end at the hands of Ajib with a wand. This time Ajib has a slightly worse wand, but it's still pretty much already almost killing us, which is fantastic. Love to see it. So hopefully Ajib doesn't use the wand for a couple of turns here, and in fact, if we get them next to us, maybe they'll throw some punches. That would be nice. Let's see. Nope. Instead they use the wand again, and we're looking to be in a rough spot. This is where normally I'm of the opinion that I keep throwing. Just trying to end the fight. If we get a lucky roll or two, we get a nice kill off of Ajib and we're able to heal off. On the flip side of things, we could die in one puff of flame from his wand here, which is absolutely ridiculous, unfortunately. But we have some unidentified potions in our inventory, so we could roll the dice in a different sense here. I guess, yeah, in a weird way, we're almost always rolling the dice. Funny for an RNG-based game, but at last, that seems to be how it all boils down. We have 4 potions, or 4 of these ruby potions, I should say. So that's fairly likely to be a heal of some kind. At least I'd hope so. Usually the most common potion you find is the potion of curing. But it's no guarantee. And if we waste a turn... Just are asking, so is Ajib a wizard? Same with Jessica? So no, Jessica is a wizard. Ajib here just always has a wand on them. It's a randomized wand, and sometimes you don't get quite so unfortunate or unlucky with them. But alas, it's just the way she blows. So I think I've convinced myself a little bit in my recounting of our choices here to go for the ruby potion. Even if it's not curing, it might be something like haste, which would be pretty huge. I don't know. Say it with me now. Just cross your fingers and hope we don't see the you die message. There we go. So it was a potion of curing. Nice to have that identified. We'd like not to use too many of those, though, if we can help it. The main purpose of a potion of healing is actually to get rid of status effects like poison. But it can be used in a pinch for a little bit of health, slightly less than a heal wounds potion. So I drank that, tried to sling a couple more of our bullets here at Ajib, missing pretty much every time. If we mouse over, we have a 58% chance to hit, and I think we've missed 3 or 4 times in a row now, which is absolutely fantastic. But hey, we're doing anything and everything to stay alive, so I'm going to drink another potion of curing, reaching into our tiny bank of consumables to see if we can maybe, just maybe, pull through. There we go. That time Ajib decided to actually throw a punch, which unfortunately still hit us, and now I'm in territory where I feel like a bad wand of flame could kill us, but let's do this. You and me, Ajib. One more hit, 58% chance, and I think we end this in one piece. Oh no. One more punch hit us. I probably should drink a potion of curing if I want guaranteed success, if we're, survival at all costs. But the gambler in me sees a 58% chance to hit, and I can't resist the odds. I guess, right, you guys can't really see that, seeing as how my camera here is covering the vital information, so you'll just have to trust me on those odds. But you know what? I like those odds, I say, as I miss the shot. And now I'm scared again. I've shrunk back into my shell, and I've convinced myself that maybe I shouldn't have done that, but it would be poetic if I let loose here and we killed Ajib, because this is our final sling bullet. Final shot in the chamber here for young Hal. I believe. I hope you all believe with me. And there we go. The final sling bullet, our last shot, releases in a wide arc and takes Ajib down in a final spray of blood there. Oh me, oh my.